So there are a lot of purges throughout history that dictators have done, but I think one of the most fascinating ones is Saddam Hussein's purge, because it was all televised. You can go on YouTube right now and watch the entire purge live and see all of the people's reaction to being killed. But on July 22nd, 1979, 6 days after Saddam Hussein became president of Iraq, he calls for this emergency conference of all of the Ba'ath Party politicians. So all these politicians, they pour into this big meeting hall, and they find their seats, and they notice that Saddam's just standing behind the podium without saying a word. He's just thumbing through his papers and kind of just being casual about it. But finally, after what probably seemed like forever, Saddam called a man's name, and the man stood up from the crowd and walked up to the podium. And when the man got behind the podium, he said that he had secret information about a conspiracy against Saddam Hussein. Really, the man had been tortured, and Saddam had forced this man to say this. While the man was speaking, Saddam sat down behind him and casually lit up a cigar and just started smoking a cigar on stage. After the man got done speaking, Saddam stood up, went to the podium, and said, "When I call your name, I want you to stand up, and I want you to go to the back of the building and leave." So he starts reading the list. He starts reading this long list of names, and everybody's just getting up and walking out the back door. Well, eventually he calls this one man's name, and this man stands up and he says, "But I didn't do anything." And Saddam just doesn't even look at him. So Saddam just keeps reading the list of names, and he says, "If I call your name, stand up and exit through the back door." So the man goes, and he keeps going and going and going, and finally, after 68 names, Saddam finally says he's done, and the crowd erupts with joy because they realize that their name wasn't read, so they're not going to die today. Saddam, as the crowd's erupting with joy and everyone's so excited, Saddam's just standing there smiling, and eventually he starts to cry because he's an insane psychopath. Unfortunately, out of the 68 people whose names were called, 21 of them faced a firing squad and were executed. The rest were sent to prison. But it showed Iraq and the whole world that Saddam was in charge in Iraq, and he would continue to be a dictator for years until he was finally executed himself.